So I just had surgery, I got a retainer in my mouth, and I sound funny. And on top of that, I'm sick. But you know what? It doesn't even matter because today I want to give you 10 tips for the brand new game Moco that's just launched globally so that you can get out of the gate and have an edge on all of the competition. But first off, what is a Moco? Well, it's an MMO action RPG, and I think the closest thing that you can compare it to is Diablo Immortal, but without the scummy pay-to-win aspect. And in fact, as of launch right now, you cannot pay to get ahead in the game at all. In fact, the only thing that you can spend money on the game in is cosmetics, and they want to keep it that way for the foreseeable future. So you free-to-play players rejoice because you are on equal footing with everyone else in the world without spending a dime. You just may not look as cool. Although I do have some ways for you free-to-play players to get some cool new outfits in the game. I'll tell you in a minute. But let's start out at the beginning with our first tip, and that is your dailies. Now, every couple of hours, you get a new job, which is what they call quests in the game. Now, for every 3 jobs that you complete, you'll get a chaos kit. Chaos kit. I'm doing the best I can. Now, it's very important that you stay on top of these if you want to get ahead and stay ahead. There are a few reasons for this, and the biggest two are that not only do they give you a lot of XP and they help you level up, but just as important are the rewards. Now, in Moco, you level up your gear through an item called a Chaos Core. Now, these Chaos Cores drop from monsters around the world. As a general rule of thumb, the tougher the monster, the higher the chance that it has to drop a Chaos Core. So getting as many of these as you can is crucial to leveling up your gear and progressing. I will give you a sweet tip on how to get a bunch of Chaos Cores in just a minute, but the downside here is that what gear that they upgrade is completely random. You don't get to choose what you upgrade. It just randomly selects one of your piece of gear and it upgrades it. That is except for when you do your daily jobs. When you complete 3 jobs, you get an option to pick which gear you want to upgrade. Now, it does only give you 4 choices to decide from, so it's not like full choice, but it's better than just randomly selecting one. This is the only time in the game that you get to pick your upgrade, and you need this. So be sure to do your dailies, because if you let your jobs stack up for too long, you'll stop receiving new ones, and therefore you're going to get less chaos kits. Less chaos kits. I'm like a snake over here. Moco is an open world multiplayer game. That means that as you're wandering around, you're going to see other players. Now, you can decide just to go off on your own and grind away, but it's much harder to progress and it will be vastly slower. The cool thing is that when a monster dies, they drop XP and possibly Chaos Cores, and to get credit for that kill and to get the loot that they drop, you just have to be near the group and helping them out. Although technically, you don't actually have to help out at all, you just have to be near. But if you do that, you're going to get way less XP and maybe no Chaos Scores, so get in there and fight. Although, you do get credit for the kill just by being near the monster when it goes down, even if you didn't help out. So even if you're underleveled, you can go into a world and run around with a big group and still get progress that way that would be otherwise impossible by yourself. Furthermore, there are some monsters that are overcharged and even mega charged, and these monsters can get very tough and sometimes just flat out impossible to take down on your own. Now, you can group up just by finding people around in the world and running around with them, or you can even make your own custom lobbies and have people join in or join in on somebody else's lobby. Once you're in there, you'll have your own chat in that lobby and you can coordinate what you want to do. Now, currently in the game, they don't have any clans or clubs or bands or whatever you want to call them. I think that that'll probably come in the future, but it's just not here right now. But it's going to be easy to gain friends and watch your levels go up by playing with others. Now, as of launch, there are 11 weapons. You won't have access to them all at the start as you slowly unlock them, but in Moco, you don't pick the class that you want to play at the start and then you just do that. But rather, you choose your class by what weapon you equip. Each weapon has a completely different playstyle, and I'm going to make a video breaking down every weapon and the optimal build for each one of them. But as a quick tip, the ones that you want to prioritize with your Chaos Kits are the ones with area splash damage. The reason for this? Well, 90% of the time in the game, there are large packs of monsters, and while some weapons like the Speed Shot Bow do better single target damage, your life will be vastly, and I do mean vastly, easier with splash damage. Early on, that's the Electro Fist. Its shots bounce between targets, and when the bar fills up, it'll bounce a larger shot similar to Jesse in Brawl Stars. Now, a bit later in your progression, the one that I really like is the CPU Bomb. It throws out bombs dealing high splash damage to everything around it, and for its special ability, it creates a larger bomb dealing huge damage. Now, much later in your progression, you'll find that the portable portal, when combined with the right gadgets, gizmos, and amplifiers, will actually do more single target damage than even the speed shot bow, even if it is a bit RNG based. And speaking of gadgets, there are a bunch to choose from, ranging from fun ones like creating a snowstorm around you to blasting every monster around you with a boombox. And while your choices greatly depend on how you want your play style to be, there are a few here that are very valuable and that you should consider with your chaos kits if you don't get the choice of a weapon. The first of those is the vitamin shot. It does two things. First off, it heals you, which is always great, unless you like dying, that is. Secondly, and almost as important, it gives you a huge boost to your attack speed, meaning that you can really crank out the damage, and it's also on a pretty low 10-second cooldown, so you can use it quite often. This one is almost a must-have, not only for survivability, but also for damage output. Plain and simple, use it. Now, another great one for mobility is the explosive 6-pack. You get this one a little bit later, but with this, you will leap through the air dropping bombs in your path. Not only does this work well for damage, but more importantly, it's great for getting in or out of combat. You can even jump over gaps in terrain, but not over walls. The last one I want to show you is the multi-zapper. This one has a long 18-second cooldown, but it is well worth it. Now, what it does is it zaps every target in range for huge damage. Now, the kicker is that if only one target is in range, it will direct all of the zaps onto that one target, dealing massive damage. And this one's really useful later on when you unlock the portable portal, but that being said, it doesn't come in handy until later, so a replacement early game would be your smart fireworks, as it deals large damage to big groups, but it's not nearly as strong on single targets. Now, gizmos are like gadgets, except they're all passive abilities, meaning you can't click on them, and while you can't actually interact with them, they are very important. Here's a couple that I think that will be vital for you starting out. Vampire teeth are a gizmo that you pick up very early on in the game, and they will continue to be useful throughout the game. With this gizmo, every time you deal weapon damage, you heal yourself a little. It's basically a life leech. This gizmo goes really good with fast attacking weapons like the electro fists. I'm back to being a snake again. With this and the vitamin shot that we talked about before, you can keep yourself completely healed up without taking a gadget slot purely for healing, which is really nice. The next one is Smelly Socks. It creates an aura of smelliness around you that damages any enemy in range. And while the damage is relatively low, it works wonders on huge packs of monsters, which there are a lot of in Moco. Now, this is one that's not absolutely vital, but if you're playing a class that gets close to the target, it's very useful. However, if you're playing a longer range weapon like the bow, you should probably opt for something like, say, the auto zapper for that extra damage. Now, at various times throughout the day, there will be special events that pop up, and you're going to want to keep an eye out for these because they're going to give you extra rewards. Now, what they give you and how they work depends on the type of event that's going on, and there are a lot of different ones, but here are a few to watch out for. Double XP. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You get more XP for hunting monsters. Simple, but effective. Then there's one called Protect the Engineers, and I'm just now realizing they're very literal in this game. What you do is, well, you protect the engineers. There's Moco employees out there. You'll see them as a green dot on your minimap. You go over there, they start doing their thing, you make sure they don't get killed, and you get extra XP. It's that simple. But the one to really look out for is Overcharge Alert. When this is active, overcharge monsters will spawn a ton. Now, the reason why this is so good is because they drop chaos cores at a higher rate. So if you see an overcharge alert, go grind it until it ends for those sweet chaos cores. You'll be swimming in them. It's like swimming through chaos cores. Oh, here's a chaos core. Oh, another one. Oh, chaos core for me. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So then after you've completed all your jobs for the day, then what? Well, that is what projects are for. Projects are like long-term missions, but they're much more grindy. They vary from hunting a specific monster to dealing damage with a certain weapon or gadget. There are ones that will be completed just as you keep playing through, but to get the most out of the game and progress quicker, you're going to want to try to complete them all. That means playing with weapons that you don't normally play with or selecting gadgets that may not be optimal for your certain situation. But if you want those juicy XP rewards, and trust me you do, you're going to need to get them all done sooner or later. So work towards them when you don't have more pressing things like jobs to accomplish. Rifts are Moco's versions of dungeons, and they're a lot of fun. These are part of your quest line, and you're going to have to progress through them early on, and at that time, simply beating them, that's enough. As you complete them though, you get projects to do them again, but faster. So going back to focus on certain rifts and kitting yourself out with a very optimized build is going to be advantageous so that you can get those projects done. The cool thing about rifts is that you can complete your projects in the rifts as well, and you can get chaos cores as well as XP just for going through them even after you've beaten them. So if you're looking for just a change of scenery or a new challenge, then rifts might be just what you're looking for. There's also an entire dedicated PvP system in Moco. Now currently, there are just a couple of game modes to play, solo and team. PvP doesn't unlock right away, so you'll have to play a bit before it does, but if you're really into PvP, then you're gonna enjoy it. The solo mode is much like a battle royale, but it has monsters as well as players. You kill the monsters, you take their shards. You kill another player, you take their shards, and the player at the end that has the most shards is the winner. Pretty simple. However, unlike most battle royales, you can die and respawn in this mode, but I'd advise not dying if at all possible. Not that you were probably looking to die, but just saying. The team mode is basically exactly the same, but there's 4 players on each team. Now for the tip on this. If you're prioritizing progress in gear and levels, PvP is not the way to do that most effectively. You get vastly less XP and no chaos cores, but if PvP is your jam, then you know what, have at it. Now I know everyone likes the price of free. You get free merch tokens every day in the vending machine, but even better is that there are merch boxes scattered everywhere throughout the world. By collecting them, you get free merch tokens that you can redeem in the vending machine for some cool new outfits and different cosmetics. So be sure to collect them all. You'll see them on your minimap, a little beige dot. Collect them all because there's also projects that go with them. So there's 10 tips for you in Moco. Now get out there and hunt some monsters. So get up there and hunt some monsters.
I'm going home.